I will call this meeting of the regular meeting of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7:03. Please join me in the pledge. The flag's over there now. It's not really
Changes every week.
up. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
United
the States of America and to the republic for which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so, public input.
Yeah, I'll give some input. Yeah, no, it's Josh Adams, 25 Grand Street in Bethel. I just want to remind the building committee what a great job they're doing, and then also to reiterate that you have fiduciary responsibility to the 20,000 citizens of Bethel to seek out the best product, the best item, the best long-term, equipment and materials moving forward with every project, and not to be swayed by engineers or contractors or anybody. You're representing the town of Bethel and the people, and stick to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Correspondence, nothing new came in since nobody else has anything.
We never get any correspondence.
Well, we do, but it all becomes part of all this, reports for different projects, but I just always have to check just in case, because we never know. Meeting minutes, so I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 11, 2023.
I'll second.
John Menti seconds. Does anybody have any updates, et cetera, on those minutes? Everybody's good? All in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody need to abstain? I don't think so. Nope, no, yeah, okay, good. All right, jumping right into our old business, Rockwell and Johnson School project. We have a application for payment from Rizzo, which is the final for Rockwell. The final for Johnson we did back in October. So we'll take care of that in a few minutes, but is there anything else? I would say either Ken or Joe Collada, if does anybody have anything that they feel like, Mark Dupre, if you have anything on the school closeout, or even Terry Yansky's on. I know Terry's been working on the closeout with Jen and getting all the documents together for Office of School Construction. So Terry, I don't know if you have anything. Anybody? Joe? Anybody?
I don't have any comment about the final application for payment. That I think STV or Perkins Eastman would have comment on that if they have any.
Yep. Well, Joe signed it, so I'm sure it's good to go. STV, Mark and Vinny checked it all over and gave the okay. So Ken and Joe got together so Joe could sign it. It's been notarized. It's good to go. So Terry, you might be able to help with this part. So this has we're not going to pay anything on this. There's zero due. And then it shows also the zero balance to finish. So it shows that we're complete with the GMP, but there's I guess you could call it a credit of $8,014.87. So with the Office of School Construction, so that's money that was in the GMP amount that's not being paid. It would go back into a contingency, not the construction contingency, but owner's contingency. So is Office of School Construction going to look for something with this? You know, Terry?
I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't think so. I would think, that projects don't end to the penny. So I would think they normally see.
They had listed that in the prior invoice as Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, when I researched it, they had listed it as retainage. And then they had credited that retainage. So technically, they didn't owe you, or you didn't owe them anything else. And that's how it all balanced out to zero. I don't believe that the State Office of School Construction would have any issue with that. I really don't. It just shows that they've been paid in full.
Okay. So I just need to know if there's anything else that anybody needs to discuss during the closeout of the project part, because we're going to do the stormwater management part of it separately. Because then we can approve this and be done with it, and approve with some STV invoices and Perkins Eastman invoices. We'll do those, or we could do them all at the end, whichever.
When's the party?
When's the party? We're having a party at Johnson School when? I don't know, we're not sure.
So Nancy, this will get submitted. The finance department will pay it.
But it doesn't get paid, there's no money owed.
Well, there's no money owed, so we're done then. So
Yes.
they'll give me their final ledger. I'll update the worksheets we've always had for the project. And then Mark and Vinny will need to schedule a get together to make sure if there's a list of what we need to send up to the state, so that we can work together on it.
Right. I think we're pretty close to done with everything on the list. I've talked to Geraldine. So we can hold that next week without any trouble, and then hopefully get this processed and out of.
Okay, and Michelle Dixon from the state had asked to do a bit of a pre-review on it before
Sure.
we submit a final, before the superintendent types everything in and hits go. And
Good idea.
And I know we'll have to go back to the board for an updated acceptance of the projects as final. So I did tell Dr. Carver to put that on the next regular Board of Education meeting, because that will be part of what has to go up. So you folks, you have my email? Yes, no?
Yes. No.
Yes. Do you need
Yes.
my cell number so that we can schedule whenever works for everyone to get together?
You can email that to them, Terry. I don't want you announcing it on.
Okay, I will
Yep.
email that to you.
Terrific.
Great.
All right, I just have to, hang on a second. So we also have the final lien waiver, which has signatures on it, and where should I file that? Do we know?
I would keep that in your project files and send a copy of that over to your finance office.
I'm gonna give it to the finance office. I can scan it into the shared drive if we need to.
Yes,
But I will give it to finance if they need that, so.
they
okay.
should have a copy of that.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna try to construct a motion to accept this. So I'm gonna make a motion that we accept final application for payment from Rizzo, application number 38 for Rockwell School, showing that there's 0 current payment due, 0 balance to finish. Sorry, you gotta write all this, Kathy. And a credit of $8,014.87.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. Does anybody have any specific questions? Because Ken is on, if anybody has specific questions about this, I mean, everything zeroes out. As I said, Mark and Vinny did look all through this, and
Yep.
numbers all work out, so. Everybody's good?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. Does anybody have any questions for Ken Hunt, who's on? I don't know as we really have anything for Ken, because there's nothing outstanding. We're good? And then the other invoices I have, which we can do now, and then we're gonna do the other ones later. So Joe Colada, there's a Perkins Eastman invoice for, I think it's like mileage for SLR, which goes back to October.
Yes,
Okay. And this, you won't have any other invoices for Rockwell, is this correct?
that should be correct. I thought the last one was the last one, and then I saw this one come across my desk last
Right.
week.
And I thought this one was the amount that we paid in the last one, but
I think it's because their mileage is always the same, so it was a trip in October and a trip in November or September and October.
and then for Mark or Vinny, this invoice from STV for Rockwell will there be another invoice as you work through the closeout process, or there probably will be?
There probably will be, yes.
So it's not final.
No.
All right, so let's do these two. I'll make a motion that we approve Perkins Eastman invoice number 006896.00.0-37 for Rockwell School for the month of December and the amount of $51.57.
Second.
John Menti seconds. Any questions?
50 bucks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done. And then I'll make a motion that we approve this invoice, STV invoice number 900266706 for Rockwell School in the amount of $182 for the month of December.
Second that.
So Roy seconds. Any questions, et cetera? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done. All right, so we also need to discuss the remediation of the stormwater management area behind Johnson, which we've been working on. And James is on, town engineer James DeMayo, and we've had some updates with planning as SLR put together more information so that it could be given to inland wetland. And then James is going to give us an update as to where we are with inland wetland, because they met Monday.
All right, good evening, everybody. So where we're at is SLR has finished the plans. Everything was submitted to the Inland Wetlands Department and Commission. And and that was all accepted on the Monday meeting, which was the 23rd. And just so everyone on the board is aware, they are planning on doing a site walk on February 11th. And I can make sure that we get that information out to all of you, in case any of you would like to attend. Don't feel like you have to, but I'm just making sure everybody's in the loop. One of the things that the commission and wetlands officer wanted was an updated wetlands report for the brook. Now, originally when that got brought up, I didn't even realize that we had anything on the property. So what I did was I reached out to Cynthia of the Northwest Conservation District. She's a soil scientist that the commission, actually that our wetlands commission typically uses as third-party review. So they know her, they respect her and everything else. So for the request for more information, she gave me a quote of $480 to do the additional report. Then after I got that, I found the report for the entire parcel, which was done by SLR, except it did not have a lot of detail in it regarding the area that we are impacting, due to the fact that originally the project was so far away from the wetlands. So the amount of detail needed at that time wasn't necessary. So I reached out to SLR to find out if that soil scientist could then come back out, update their report, and what that would cost. Ended up finding out that soil scientist who did the original report ended up retiring. Was working with Megan, and I don't have her last name at the moment. So I discussed what I needed with her, who is a soil scientist within SLR, and was trying to lock down a number. Now, one of the things that was discussed was that there is some money that's already been approved through the board, and everybody believes that the fee for this will be able to cover it. However, I kind of kept hammering home trying to figure out how much SLR was thinking they were going to charge for this. And then I ended up getting on a phone call with her. I believe she called me back at about 2:00 this afternoon. And what she told me was she doesn't see, or realistically, she sees about $2,600 is where she thinks their fee is going to be. So that's kind of where we're at. And we just need some guidance from the board on what direction they want to go, who they want to use. Yeah, I mean, benefit of SLR is the money's already approved for some of the stuff. I don't know if there was a little bit of disconnect between me and Megan in terms of what I was looking for. I mean, her original number was actually 4,000. And then I kind of stopped and said, hold on, and kind of reined her in on what we needed, because I didn't want her to go through the whole rigmarole when all we need is a little report verifying that, you know, she agreed with the location of the originally marked wetland line, and then a review of our existing project and the impacts on the stream is essentially what I was looking for. So after she had some time to digest, her number came to 2,600. So, but again, that money is already approved, or do we want to go with the other soil scientist? You guys just let me know.
So, so the two amounts are like significantly different, and are they both looking at doing the same thing? Is that, so are we looking at, like, if the other soil scientist, the one that's going to cost us $480, comes back and says, oh, I didn't know you needed more info, it's going to cost more, or
Yeah. So how that conversation went was in an effort to make sure that the wetlands officer and commission got exactly what they wanted. I gave my description of what I was looking for, and then I did also, or she did also speak with our wetlands officer directly before she gave that number. And again, with Megan with SLR, I tried to keep bringing her down and making sure that she wasn't going above and beyond, because she started listing off some things that were already done by the SLR office. So I was a little confused and I kept having to come back, but it ended up being, or the conversation ended with, I don't see it for anything less than the 26.
So just to remind everybody, when we approved an amount, and it was actually a proposal from Perkins Eastman with SLR being their consultant, an amount not to exceed for both the SLR part and the Perkins Eastman part. So what James is saying is that needing this soil report for inland wetland, which the original report didn't extend as far because the scope of the project went kind of, where, if everybody's, well, you haven't been out, the map that James has shown us, the plans, et cetera, where the level spreader ends so many feet in the downstream towards the brook direction is where the scope of the project ends. So that's where the soils report kind of ended too, from the original stormwater management planning, how many, 3 years ago or more.
More.
So they need, and the wetlands needs all the way down to the brook. And so we're looking at paying $480 or the not to exceed through SLR, which could be 2,600.
I mean, I don't if it sounds like we can get the same amount done for the 480, I don't see why, if that seems to meet the requirements, I think we ought to just proceed forward on that.
I agree. I mean, how
I
do you,
mean,
I spend
even-
600, you're gonna spend 480.
I mean, even if we end up with a couple extra items that we have, it doesn't sound like it's gonna get anywhere near the 2,600.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the 2,600 is coming from because I haven't actually spoken to SLR about
Right.
the exact amount. I haven't spoken with Dave or Darren. So I just want to let the commission know that.
So if we're gonna go forward with this and use this other company, we probably need to make a motion and agree on the amount. However, if we're gonna do more checking through SLR, then we need to hold that or make the motion in a way that, let me see if I can figure that out.
Just so the commission knows too, what I'm looking at for timeline. Both soil scientists were aware of the timeline that I was trying to achieve, which was, I put a deadline of February 22nd on their report. That would give me time to get it to the Wetlands Commission prior to the next meeting. So I don't know if that had some impact on pricing. But both of them are aware of that timeline and able to meet it.
So the other soil scientist is aware of that timeline too?
Yeah, actually, so right now, both soil scientists are, I kind of explained the situation to both of them. I said, I will hopefully have an answer for either of you or both of you tonight, if not tomorrow morning, because both are kind of chomping to move forward. I think Cynthia's ready to move forward as early as Friday. She has like a tentative meeting scheduled with myself and the wetlands officer. And then Megan, I think she is not far behind them or behind Cynthia. I think she's probably like a week or so like after that. So they're both ready to go is pretty much what it is. They just need the thumbs up.
I mean, I would make the recommendation that we would go with this.
What's the name of the company so we can have that be
Yeah.
part?
So yeah, she is part of the Northwest Conservation District. I'll get you all that information right now. Hold on a second.
She's worked with the Wetlands Authority in town already. They know her. She's already talked to them. She knows what the scope is. And how do you justify spending 2,600?
No, I agree. I just, if we're gonna make a motion and I need to have something to put in, I can't say we're gonna give somebody $20 or $480 and not have a name in there. And
I think it's Cynthia Rabinowitz.
yes, but she also was part of an email that I got, so. I'm looking-
Cynthia Rabinowitz, and she is the executive director of the Northwest Conservation District.
Okay. So, and then you're saying that, when's the next inland wetland meeting?
And the next inland wetland meeting is February 27th.
So if they have this information by the 22nd, will they be able to digest it and make a kind of accept it, or will that take another month?
So what I did in the last meeting was they allowed me to make a presentation, fill them in, try to understand if they had any major concerns with what we were doing. Based upon my gauge, they all took it and understood what was happening. They understood the need for it. None of them thought it was anything crazy. But at that meeting, we really weren't going through all the fine details of the plan. It was just giving them a little background of how we got there and our motion forward. To be honest, I might know more after the site walk. The hope is that they will be able to vote on it in the next meeting.
Okay.
but unfortunately, it's dealing with a commission, and as you know, there are multiple minds and multiple people on that commission. So you never know if something comes up that pushes it. But that's the objective.
Okay.
Good.
Somebody have a question?
No.
So I'll make a motion that we approve an amount not to exceed $480 for the necessary soil report from the Northwest Conservation District to be done and the report sent to Inland Wetlands Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we pretty much discussed it. I don't know if anybody needs to look at the motion or change it around or anything. And so I'm gonna add to it, actually. If we find that in future discussion, further discussion with SLR, if their amount is similar, we could possibly go ahead and use their services. Sound too?
It's very vague.
I think that gets confusing.
Okay.
I just think you stick with.
All right, so stick with the original part, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. So James, you and I will have to be in better touch with SLR and give them,
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to everybody, probably by mid-morning, because I have a doctor's appointment first thing. But either I may try to send an email right now from my phone, or
Yeah, I'm in the middle of sending an email to SLR as well. So I
okay,
just want to confirm that we're not going to have them update the wetlands report based on that vote. Is that correct?
yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
But then they mean SLR, will SLR need the soil report to do anything more to their plan, or will it all just need to go to Inland Wetlands Commission?
At this point, it's just gonna need to go to Inland Wetland Commission.
Okay.
Unless the only way that SLR would need it, I mean, it's not bad to give it to them. I'm not saying don't give it to them. I'm gonna end up giving it to them when I get it anyway, because they're part of the project. But the main reason why they would ultimately need it is if there are certain recommendations in the report to be added to the plan.
Okay,
Then they can charge you $480 for it.
okay. Is there anything else that we need to deal with as far as, we're still obviously in the both planning and then acceptance of inland wetlands. Once Inland Wetlands accepts what we're planning to do we have to go back to planning and zoning? Is there just a inland wetland thing? Okay,
Just wetlands.
okay. All right. Anything else on this?
No, unless anyone on the commission has any questions on where we sit right now or anything like that.
Because we do have two invoices, which I believe mostly are for, they say Johnson, but they're probably mostly for working on this part of the project. So if anybody doesn't have any more questions for James or for Joe, then I'm going to do the invoices. Okay?
Yep, good.
So I'll make a motion that we approve Perkins invoice number 0068962.09.0-1 for Johnson School Extended for the month of December in the amount of $3,868.50.
Second that.
So we got a second from Roy and Dave Olson. All in favor? Opposed? Done. And then for STV, I'll make a motion that we approve invoice number 900266705 for Johnson School for the month of December in the amount of $1,638. Second from Dave Olson. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. So that's it for school stuff. Unless either Terry or James or Joe Collado or Mark or Vinny have anything else. You guys are all good?
All set.
All right, good. So thank you. Everybody else has got to stay on.
Thank you.
We're dealing with the firing range next.
No,
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Good
All right,
night.
thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
thank you.
All right.
before we even start on the firing range, I have a question to ask is, do we have a vacancy?
Yes,
Okay,
on the commission.
okay.
Dino resigned the end of December, and we haven't had anybody appointed yet.
And what do we have to do that?
So names are put forth to the Board of Selectmen, and then the Board of Selectmen considers, and they do in all boards and commissions, they do usually January, February. So any vacancies on appointed boards and commissions, lists are given to them by the Republican Town Committee and Democratic Town Committee, and then and you have to have like a Republican replace a Republican or an independent replace an
Okay, so
independent.
Dino was a Republican,
Yes,
okay.
Yep.
So what do we have to do? Because there's a gentleman in this room right there
well, so there's not,
could I finish, please?
yep, okay.
Because this happens all the time to me. I don't talk over anybody else, please nobody talk over me. I want to know how we could speed up the process to get a tremendous value asset of Josh getting back on the board.
Mhm.
And what do we have to do this? I mean,
So it's not up to us?
so I realize that.
Okay,
So let me go back. What do we have to do to speed up the process?
Mhm.
Because Dino he resigned a month ago.
right,
Right. So what, are the wheels in motion? I'm pretending like now we're running a business,
Yeah.
right?
right,
So we're missing somebody from the firm.
Yep.
And we gotta replace them. And
Right.
let's say, we're gonna pretend like Josh is the CFO of the company.
Yep.
So we gotta fill that position.
yeah.
What do we have to do? Who's doing it? Like, do we have to bring that to the Board of Selectmen? Should we have Richie Straighten at our next meeting? Everybody's concerned, including me, of getting the firing range completed.
Mhm.
We all know we're stumbling on one big issue, and it's the 30-ton makeup air unit for the police station.
Right.
Josh would be a tremendous asset, as he was in the past, to our committee
Yes,
to help speed up this process.
Mhm.
So I'm asking, not knowing all the background of policies, is how could we speed it up? We gotta pretend like we're a company, we wanna run efficiently. And we're not running efficiently right now, because we're missing a team member.
and
So how do we do that?
so it's unfortunately, companies probably run more efficiently than town government.
Yeah, but we're gonna change that.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
So, my suggestion would be for Josh to write a letter to the Board of Selectmen saying that he's interested in being a member. And also contact the Republican Town Committee, let them know that you're interested in being a member. I can send an email to the Board of Selectmen asking for them to, act promptly is a good way to put it, act promptly. So I'm not sure when their next meeting is. I don't know if they'll put together a special meeting, but they might to do boards and commissions. They, like I said, throughout the month of January and into February, they do appoint all the appointed boards and commissions wherever there's a vacancy, or somebody that needs to be reappointed.
There's another caveat. If the Board of Selectmen does not make an appointment to an open vacancy, the board that has the vacancy, the board can actually appoint somebody
In 60
after
days.
60 days.
After 60 days.
Dino, so that's more than a month ago.
His letter said, effective the end of December. He had given it to, the town clerk.
December,
He
so
gave me a
December
copy.
31st.
Yeah,
So then,
yes, so he came to, I don't think, well, we didn't do an end of December meeting, but we did one early December. He was at that meeting, and I have a copy of the letter too, and it did say December 31st, so effective January 1, according to the charter, in 60 days, we can.
so the way to do this is, as you said, have Board of Selectmen meet second and fourth Tuesday of each month.
Right,
So they'll meet on the 14th of February. Valentine's Day, gosh, isn't that nice?
Well, so did they meet last night? I guess that would have been a meeting last night, would have been a,
I think they canceled it.
oh, okay. So,
On the other hand,
no, they meet on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays. They met on the 3rd of January, and then,
okay, the third was.
right, so they met on the 3rd, they did not meet on the 17th, they had a special meeting on the 12th, I looked at those minutes, there weren't any appointments on those minutes. They did not meet on the 17th, I don't know if they're gonna have a special meeting, but,
And you belong to the R party? The
Our party?
Republican.
our, that's not our.
It's not your party.
I know.
No, I'm saying it's a Republican
Right.
vacancy.
Right,
You're a Democrat.
yes.
no, he said R.
So,
R as in the
so
letter
it would
R.
be good if Josh
R.
notified the Republicans that he's
Yes,
interested in filling that vacancy.
yes,
Now, let's say that all falls apart, and they don't nominate him.
Yeah.
It's up to the selectmen can not accept the recommendation that they've made
yes,
and make their own.
which is why he should write a letter.
And by that time, there will be 2 Democrats on the board, and they will vote for him.
Or you wait until after 60 days and we can say.
No, we can't.
No, we're not-
I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
So, wait, can I say something?
You're talking over me now.
I'm pretending.
You're talking over me now.
Be that because
It's
we're
my
two
turn.
Italians. I'm pretending like we're IBM right now. Let's
I've
run
been
in
moved.
parallel. Let's run in parallel. So let's get the letter, let's get it to them. And if all else fails, the end of February, he's on the board.
A letter to the Republican Vacancy Committee, a letter to the Board of Selectmen. Just covering bases
Yeah,
there.
that's
And
all you
then
gotta
I'll check in with the board of selectmen too. Okay,
Sorry.
And ask the Republican Town Committee to act promptly as well.
Yep.
I would appreciate it if,
do. I'm the good looker.
as would all of my
My wife
Democratic
reminds me all
friends.
okay, so John's comments obviously are a good lead into working on the training range, because we had a meeting last week with a number of people. Vinny put together a meeting, and we had talked at our last meeting about having all of us attend also. However, the meeting was put together so quickly that we didn't have time to be able to post a special meeting. So John and Dave Horvath were on, I jumped on, along with a whole bunch of other people. So it was Vinny and Ardian from STV, and then 3 people from Action Target, John from Kohler Ronan, Rob from ESC, Chief Pugner, Lieutenant Libertini. And it was, to say the least, frustrating and upsetting. So the equipment, the range equipment is done, ready to go, ready to be installed. They're still working on design for this makeup air unit, and they've been telling Vinny, well, Vinny's contact all along has been telling him one thing, and then the other 2 people who were on from Action Target came on and told us that the design they put together was kind of geared towards being proprietary to Daikin, and they're 36 weeks out. So we're gonna wait 9 months for a,
But they also said, no, I went to the range and I was told it could only be Daikin. But then when I was on the call that you're talking about.
Yep.
They said it could be Daikin or Aon.
right,
So
I don't get,
Lieutenant Durkin, I know there's an eagerness to get the range finished. I don't know if you have a relationship or any contact at Action Target, but it would be a tremendous help to have two manufacturers to select from and to possibly selecting off a lead time. Than the way things are going right now. I know Chief Pugner he wants to see the range done. We all want to see the range done. But I think everybody on the team, including everybody at the PD, if they could help us with Action Target, it's been a long road. We're trying to get you there. I find it hard to believe that we can't have two units to select from. I would ask if there is somebody that you were dealing with at the time of Action Target and tell them our eagerness is to put another manufacturer in front of us. I think we all came out of that meeting, that most recent meeting, knowing there is an option for Aon. And to be quite honest with you, Aon would match all the existing equipment that's already at the PD, all the existing units that are up there now. And Aon, personally, myself, are doing this for 35 years, is a more custom-made unit, so all the controls in it could be spec'd to match your existing system, automation system, to make it a smooth marriage, even though we're only gonna monitor, because Action Target wants full control of the unit. It was definitely said at this last meeting that Aon was an option, so if there's anybody that you could call on Action Target to push this along, you know, it may speed things up, because without, like we said, not to sound like a broken record, without the makeup air unit, it's not a project. We can't put anything in the shell, you can't start mounting things. It's an important piece, it's the first piece that has to go in.
So, Vinny, do you have anything up more since the meeting that we had a week ago?
I do not. Action Target is seeming to go silent again. And again, that's been a problem right along with them. So we'll continue to reach out and see where they sit. I know they mentioned that their control vendor was in Vegas for a week or so, and that they would be reaching out to them when they got back to talk about the controls portion of the project and how the unit can be controlled. I have reached out to a few of my contractors that I have good relationships with, and I was just talking to them in general about this particular project, not really mentioning the details of it and so forth. You know, I said we have a vendor that designed an air handling unit, a customized air handling unit for our project, and they designed it around a specific vendor. And when we asked them to go out to multiple vendors, because there is another vendor that they can utilize for this unit, we were told that they had to redesign it. And they seem to be puzzled by that response. They're like, why don't they just put out those drawings for that vendor to the other vendor and have them do an or equal, match it?
John's been saying, that's what John's been saying all along, like put out
Right,
some.
but we asked Action Target that, and they said they can't do that. That was their exact response. We can't do that. We need to redesign another package based on A.
So, but the other thing is that Vinny has all along been saying to them, relaying John's requests. John has written long emails, he made a spreadsheet, et cetera, of if you're putting this together so we can put it out to multiple vendors, and let's look at what their cost is and what their lead time is.
Correct. That conversation happened.
But they told you that, Vinny, I think they told you that they could do that initially, and then at the meeting, they said they couldn't And my observation of the guy that you've been dealing with at Action Target on that meeting was he didn't do much talking. His superiors were the ones that did all the talking. The
That
mechanic
is correct.
and his
Yeah.
senior project manager.
That is correct. As early as, I think it was the Thursday, I think we had the meeting on a Monday, on a Tuesday, I think it was maybe the Thursday or Friday before. I had another conversation again with David from Action Target. And it was probably the third time that we had discussed this. And again, I said, you're going out to multiple vendors. I said, what I need you to do is when you go out to multiple vendors, provide me a list of those vendors along with the price and the lead time for each vendor that you go out to. He said, I can do that. I mean, multiple times he mentioned to us about, because again, I working on what John was saying multiple times. We're going to multiple vendors, and the answer was yes. We're going to multiple vendors. I want to get this package together so we can go. These conversations happened a few months back when I first mentioned that they were going to multiple vendors. At the meeting, David said, well, I told you I needed to check on that. I went back to Ardian because I always have a backup on my meetings with me that's taking notes and listening. And I asked Ardian, I said, did he ever say that? He said, those words never came out of his mouth. I needed to go check. He said exactly what you said at the meeting to him.
Yeah.
And it's very disappointing because, for one, it makes me look like I'm not following up or I'm not doing what I need to do. But in the end, it's Action Target. Again, I reached out to a few of my contacts, gave them a scenario, and just like John said, why can't they just take those burns and go out and get a competitive number for it? So a week ago it was 36 or 38 weeks for Daikin if we put it out on Monday. Here's a week going by. So the 22 to 26 week lead time on Aon has yet to start. That's not going to start until they get a package available for Aon.
Yes.
And it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to lose 8 to 10 weeks.
Right.
When you're designing and you're in the situation. So if we're talking about competitive bids and pricing, that's a whole nother story. But if we're talking about getting a unit here as soon as we possibly can, that's a different discussion. We have a unit that we can get here in 36 weeks.
And we have all the equipment ready to go. We could put we could give all that information to Chikunsky Hume so they can finish their part so that Downs could then go out to bid to do all that
They have it, yes.
but we can't do anything because they're not, we could be putting a range together in a couple of months, but we can't.
So I want to share something. Yeah, in the school district that I work in, we're out to bid right now for 11 rooftop units in the range of 30 ton to 50 tons. We're redoing a complete school, and Aon gave us a lead time of 22 to 24 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good.
So the unit that was spec'd for the range somewhere went from 25 tons to, the last conversation, it went to 31 tons. So that's in the wheelhouse of what I'm working with right now at one of our larger schools, replacing the 11 rooftop units.
Right.
So 10 weeks, 12 weeks is a considerable increase.
Yeah. Yep.
On
Big time. Yep.
Chief Pugner's point of he wanted to see the range finished before he retires. I think I'll be retiring before him, but that's just me.
Right.
But we all want to see the range completed, done.
So the issue is that Target doesn't want to use the second.
Yes.
They're in the contract.
Well,
And Action Target is under contract to us,
Yes.
correct?
I'll be
Yes.
granular.
Must give us some leverage.
Well, so here's, They also, so this makeup air unit is being designed by a mechanical engineer that's not, they're a consultant to Action Target, just like Kohler Ronan is a consultant to Jakunski Humes. So I don't see why a mechanical engineer consultant can't make those.
They
make that-
could,
Yeah,
it's
I know they
spending
can.
our money.
Absolutely.
I know, yes, they are,
Yeah.
which is something else we're gonna have to talk about in a little bit.
So the other thing that I was thinking about, because we were going around with discussing how we control temperature and humidity in the space when the range is not in use. I believe Lieutenant Libertini said we could go on that range today, but not go back in there for 2 months. So I've been thinking about that and how Action Target and I apologize for not being on video. My video is down right now and I can't get on. Action Target made a big deal out of the fact that their unit is only going to run when the range is active. And then once they're not using the range, you shut it down and you're done. Well, we said you can't do that to our range. We need to monitor, we need temperature and humidity maintained in the range. Whatever the temperature and humidity settings that we decide on. That was what they were going to go back to their control contractor and speak to them about and try to come up with something to be able to do that. Our control contractor didn't see an issue with it. But the one thing that I've been thinking about, maybe we step back away from that whole idea of this makeup air unit doing dual operation, serving both the range and then serving the temperature and humidity. What if we added a couple of supplementary units that once the makeup air unit is turned off, the supplementary units turn on and at least provide the minimal amount of humidity and air in the space. When they turn on the makeup air unit, the supplemental air shuts off, the dampers close, and then the makeup air unit takes over and does what it needs to do during range operation. I'm wondering if that's, and we work with our architect and engineers to get that design done.
Right.
But again, it's an added cost for both design and buying whatever unit or units that we will need for this. But if Action Target can't come up with a solution to the controls and how this unit can function, we're going down a road where we could be saying, you know what, just provide the makeup air unit for the range, we'll take care of the balance on our own.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the best way of doing this. And that way that we take that off of their plate completely.
right. Because they did say that the equipment in the range and everything that they would install in the range would not need to be, I mean, I think the humidity would need to be really, really, really high, and the temperature would need to be really, really low. And that everything, all the equipment they're putting in won't be affected by not having the kind of air control that we are looking at wanting to do.
Right.
I don't quite get that. I don't know if that's.
I don't either. You're gonna get a day or a week where it's gonna be nothing but rain, the humidity is gonna go up. You're gonna get freezing temperatures that's gonna last a week, where you're gonna have 10-degree temperatures during the day for a week or two. That range is gonna get very, very cold. Same thing in the summertime. You're gonna have 100 degrees going for a week. That range is gonna get very hot. So, I mean, is that what Action Target wants to happen with their equipment? Go from, whatever temperature at a low to whatever temperature of a high, and that is fine with that fluctuation, along with, hey, we don't care if it's raining in there at 100% humidity, our equipment's not gonna get affected. I think the town would care.
Yeah, well, if it's gonna create a situation where the equipment doesn't last as long or starts to misfunction or malfunction, that.
I was very surprised to hear that they don't have any parameters on their equipment. These are electronic devices in there.
Yep.
I'm very surprised to hear that they don't have that.
So Vinny, have we been talking to Jakunski and Holmes and Kohler Ronan as far as looking at alternate means on this? I mean, I absolutely think we got to work on both sides of this at the same time. and to look at this as a supplemental. And I think really what we need is dehumidification and heat, for what it might be. And, you're probably not looking at a lot, but supplemental, when you're gonna throw 30 tons on, they're gonna walk in, turn the system on, everything will happen fast. But,
Right.
just to keep the thing conditioned during the off times, we're not looking at putting people in there to sit at a desk and what have you. All you want to do is make sure the equipment doesn't rust out or go to 110 degrees.
Correct, exactly.
So,
I didn't want to mention that during the Action Target meeting, because I knew Action Target would jump on that and totally be like, hey, you guys will do that. I was waiting for this meeting to come up to bring it up and discuss it.
but why hasn't Tecumseh and Huns and Color Ronin been starting to be proactive on this?
They're not providing any cooling or heating or climate control for the physical range.
Right.
Now, if we choose to go that route and if the committee decides, hey, you know what, let's go that route, then we can get them engaged on that.
We have another thing we have to think about here. We only have a pot of money that's
Right.
to go so far, and trust me, we do not want to go back to the town and ask for a freaking
Right.
dime more for this range,
Yeah.
because we're not
Exactly.
going to go through that again.
I hear you, John.
So
Well, but
that's something to consider.
I think we could look into it. I think we could find out from Kunsky Humes and Coloradonin, what they might recommend or what they might, we can have a conversation. We don't have to
Yeah.
spend any money yet, but we can have that conversation.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. That's something we got to keep in the back of our mind.
Definitely, definitely.
Exactly, and that's why I didn't want to bring it up with Action Target in the meeting. I know they would have jumped on that right away.
Right.
They would have washed their hands of this, and then we would have been in a situation, what do we do now?
Totally understand that, but I think we got to start talking with Tecumseh and Kohler pretty soon, just offline per se, and say, what are your thoughts? And so at least we have some, some general idea, because otherwise, you might be coming to a screeching halt, and then we're not going anywhere.
Right.
Agree.
To John's point, that's all the more that we should be able to put some competitiveness
To the,
to the
yes.
two manufacturers and say, how bad do you want it?
Right.
That's to flat spec it.
Yep.
And they absolutely said on that call last week that they can do an Aon unit.
Yeah.
They said that.
Yeah.
So we have to push on them to say, bring it to the table.
Right.
So-
Correct, they can do Aon. They did say that they needed to redesign it. I don't know what that means yet. What does that mean? That the Daikin drawings that they produce become a nice little fire pit for us? Or do we tell them right now, listen, you have a set of documents, get it out to Daikin right now. Get it out now to bid to Daikin. And then put together what you need to put together to get off of Aon. Because the longer we wait for Daikin, the longer everything gets pushed out. So my recommendation is tell Action Target, put the Daikin out to bid, put together whatever needs to be put together for Aon, and then get that out to bid.
Right.
And let's see
Yeah,
where
but
everything comes in.
I don't think they're gonna do anything with the Aon units. I mean, if they send it out to bid, I think they're just gonna say to heck with it. All we're gonna do is send that one out. They're not gonna have any incentive to put the next one together.
And in the fairness of them, then you're asking Daikin to put their number out and then have Aon come in and
Invest in
rebid
number.
it.
Yeah,
It has to go in parallel.
yes.
Yeah.
I honestly, if you give me enough notice, I think we set up another meeting with Action Target sooner than later, and I'll be the bad guy. I have no problem with that, putting pressure on them. You know, I'm getting the feeling now that they sold us the range and they're telling us what they're gonna do. We're the customer.
Yeah,
We are the customer, and we can't lose focus of that.
right. So, and back to,
Going back, go ahead, Nancy. I was gonna say, going back to putting the drawings out to bid for Daikin, as long as Action Target maintains the integrity of that number when it comes in, I agree 100%. I like going out to bid all at once, getting the numbers in. If I get a number in early, I won't even open it until I have everybody's number in and that day is passed. I won't even open the email. I archive it in my proposal folder, and when I get them all in, plus I also have it go to somebody else in my company to maintain that integrity. Okay, now as long as Action Target maintains that integrity and they're honest and forthcoming, I don't see why they can't get out to Daikin now. Get that time started with Daikin. That 36-week time started. And then what are they doing with Aon? But I mean, I'll leave it up to the committee on how we want to handle this.
so John Perna started by asking Lieutenant Durkin, who's still on, you know, who can we use at the police station to pressure Action Target? And I think it's usually Libertini, he's had the most contact with them. He actually, before we had that meeting, actually a week before our meeting, I saw him at another meeting and mentioned what was going on. And I said, let me, you know, check into it further and I'll let you know. Well, he called Rex right away and got an answer. And then we started getting stuff from Action Target. So I don't know if we need to.
So I'm gonna make a recommendation. Lieutenant Durkin, Libertini, and Chief Pugner call Action Target about the Aon issue. Put some heat on.
So from what I'm hearing, they're telling you they can send it to Aon, but they need to redesign it. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of lost on what pressure is going to change that. You think that's not true, that they don't need to do that?
Bob, that's a vague statement to tell somebody.
It is.
That's a very vague statement in the HVAC world. So, okay, we're changing, we want a second unit option.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll re-engineer it, it'll take X. How long is it gonna take? You know, they never said that to us.
They never did. They said, right, they said that they need to talk to their mechanical contractor and get it in their queue. And
Yep.
then they will, then we'll get a time frame on how long is it gonna take to design. Because again, if the mechanical engineer has 15 projects ahead of it, unless Action Target decides to pay them a boatload of money to move it up, I don't see them moving on it until they get it in their queue and they have a timeline.
So Vincent, on their design per se, you know, I don't want to come back with a design that still doesn't use this unit as a supplemental heat at the same time. You know,
Right.
where is our design? That's kind of what I want to know. It sounds like they're not even putting the supplemental part of it in.
They're not.
So,
not.
so it's not gonna do us any good to, you know, get another, you know, company on board unless we change that spec to get it to be the spec we want.
So one of the things they did say on the meeting were a whole bunch of people, and I don't know if they were people that directly involved.
So, well,
with our
hey Nancy,
project.
Nancy, can I just interrupt for 1 second? I'm just asking John on this, John. What's your thought, John? Will this unit work, this 30-ton work with using it as a supplemental for off seasons and what have you, with changes of controls? I mean, are we totally going the wrong way here?
No, absolutely not. So-
Okay,
So new equipment today is totally different. In the old days, you would have a unit with, say, 2 compressors.
Yep.
Now they have two things in our favor. they'll put a unit that they would normally put 2 compressors, they'll put 6 compressors. On
Yep.
top of that, the old compressors would only run at 1 speed,
Right, these will scroll up and down.
a variable speed.
Yep,
We call it turn down. The turn downs are incredible now because what they do is they gain efficiency by doing that. So instead of running 1 big compressor when you only need, say, half of its capacity, they're putting more compressors in it, more smaller compressors, and that brings up the efficiency on the unit. The unit, the drawings that I had printed already had hot gas reheat, so they were already planning on dehumidifying.
okay,
I don't see it to be you know, with today's technology, I'd be shocked if they couldn't do it. And
so,
between I could contact any manufacturer. I have a good relationship with a lot of them because they all know that the 11 units that we're doing at a school, and I have another school behind that with another 9, they all want an opportunity to sell us their equipment.
right,
But
so,
we have to have action
So-
target in our court to say, okay, yes, we're gonna go with the Aon. We'll
but
give you,
we're still not there with either one of them because we still don't have the design that's gonna take care of that, you know, the controls that are gonna take care of that supplemental. I mean, until we can get that under control, that they understand that's what we're gonna do. Because, you know, I totally agree, it's gonna be much more efficient to do it that way versus putting extra units up there. But, you know, somehow Action's gonna have to change their specs so that we can write this thing in the spec and get it priced accordingly.
Correct. There's a couple of things that, with this particular unit. When the unit is running for the range, the unit is running at full speed.
Right,
It's taking in maximum air and it's pushing maximum air through the range to make that air change every couple of minutes to protect the shooters. This unit has a VFD, a variable frequency drive. Variable frequency drive, I'm not sure how much you know about them.
Yeah.
They control the speed of the fan. That's typically controlled by the BMS saying, you know, to run at a certain speed. We can say when the unit's off that we want, we want the VFD to take over and run the unit at 25% power, just enough to keep the temperature and the humidity. Now, a couple of things, and John, correct me if I'm wrong on this. The humidity sensor for the range is actually inside the unit. There needs to be a humidity sensor outside the unit, inside the range to monitor the humidity. So when that humidity gets to a certain level, the unit will kick on and will do its thing. The same thing with the heating and cooling. The heating element, again, it will, temperature you want in there is 65. When that kicks on, the reheat in there will heat the air enough to keep the air in there at 65. Again, something needs to be put inside the range to do that. And I think it can be done through the BMS. I think it could be done through a controls contractor very easily. It just doesn't seem like Action Target is willing to do it. You got that sense, John, Nancy?
It seems like willing, but at the same time, they can. I mean, they have the capacity. If they're working with a mechanical engineer, the mechanical engineer should be able to do that. It seems like
Right.
Action Target's not conveying that to the mechanical engineer. Is that
Right, but the mechanical engineer needs to be in communication with the controls contractor to get the unit to operate correctly. Mechanical engineers just throwing the unit up on the roof, providing all the bells and whistles and all the set points that need to be tied in order for the unit to operate the way it needs to operate. But the control contractor will be the one that will be setting all these parameters. And I don't understand where the issue is with that, and why they just don't throw a humidity sensor in the room, put a temperature sensor in the room, put set points on them. The unit turns on, doesn't need to turn on at 100%. It could turn on at 25%. Whatever it needs to do to be able to get the temperature, humidity, and keep it at the levels that we want it to be.
Just tell them.
But, you know, until we get the engineers on board with what we want to do, you know, I think we're wasting our time. You know, if we can't get that design, we can't get the spec on the design, there's no reason to price out another person with the wrong thing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
If,
So I think we're gonna have to go back to action and say, this is what we gotta do. I mean, this is a deal breaker. It's simply a deal breaker.
So they,
So, you know, it's gonna be a tough go, but I don't know what else we can do here. We're in a very awkward spot, but you know, we still control the project here. It's our money.
I agree with that, and I think the town needs to take a firm stance and basically put out those requirements that we're looking for the action target.
I think
And-
that's what we gotta do. We're wasting time.
Have them abide by it.
Correct,
This is what we want. There is no negotiation on it.
correct.
so on the meeting last week, Action Target kept talking about a whole lot of their people being at a trade show in Las Vegas.
That was the control vendor.
Right.
Control vendor, but that didn't include the mechanical engineer, right? They're not
No,
specific to being out at a, what they call the shooting show, so.
correct. No, the mechanical engineer couldn't make the meeting. Action
Right.
Target had their mechanical engineer on the meeting.
Yes, and he was helpful, but he wasn't as helpful as the person who designed it would have been.
Correct. Absolutely.
So are you hearing anything back at all from Action Target, or are they just being silent again?
They've gone silent again. We'll continue to reach out, and we'll continue. I have already checking on them on a regular basis. And we'll continue to see where they're at, what they're doing, and what the next steps are.
Because I think what we need is to have Finn find out what they're looking at for a time frame of doing this redesigning, which they shouldn't have to do. Because we're saying that it shouldn't have to be done.
My contacts are saying it doesn't have to be done, put it out as an or equal and let whomever, let Aon look at the specs, they can match it. You agree with that, John?
Yeah,
Can we possibly have
Yeah.
John make some comments about this, because we're both in the same,
Subject matter expert.
yeah.
do you have anything?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah, so it would be my opinion that if you've already got a spec written for Daikin, you would just send that spec to any manufacturer, and any manufacturer.
yes,
So obviously they've already got one for Daikin. So just have them send that spec to Aon. Aon's gonna send you back the unit that they're gonna be able to build with an engineered drawing.
Yeah.
At which point, you know, Action Target's gonna drop that in. They're gonna unplug one unit and just plug this in on their CAD drawing.
yeah,
You know, aside from that, it's, you know, a few additional changes. And then the other thing, you know, you're talking about, you know, how you're gonna control the room in unoccupied times. Typically with any VMS system, there's gonna be an occupied and unoccupied. So during, you know, when the officers are going in there to use the range, they would go in an occupied mode. The unit's gonna ramp up, and it's gonna maintain, it's not gonna maintain a room temperature, it's gonna maintain a discharge air temperature.
right,
We don't care what the room temp is, you wanna make sure that the discharge air temp into the range is a certain level of temperature and humidity.
right,
Because it's getting exhausted out.
Yep.
So we're not gonna try to maintain a temperature in the room, just a discharge air temp.
Right.
And then if it's unoccupied, there would be like a night setback mode. So they're gonna do the same thing, maybe the night occupied or is, you know, a few degrees off from set point. So that same unit is gonna be able to modulate down and provide minimal amount of cooling or heating, whatever. You know, it all depends on how the unit's designed, but
Right.
I would just take, you know, request the spec from Daikin and just send that to whatever manufacturer you're thinking.
Yeah,
And obviously Aon is probably preferred for all the schools, all the units that PD are Aon.
Mhm.
For me, I love them because they get a 25-year warranty on the heat exchanger.
Mhm.
You know, you wouldn't put a 25-year warranty on something that you didn't think was gonna last that long,
right.
right? Try to beat that.
So let me ask you, if Aon gets a spec, and they would look at it and say, okay, this might be a little different, but they would put their equivalent into their response.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Why they can't do that,
Exactly. You just send the Daikin spec to Aon.
right,
The issue is, a lot of times people don't wanna go to Aon first, because Aon builds such a robust unit with such high quality standards, warranties, that no other manufacturer can match that. When you buy an Aon, you're theoretically getting, you know, the best American made unit you can get. So the problem is, if they're, once you go Aon, you're not gonna get another unit to match it.
So if Vinny, if we get a hold of Action Target and tell them that the client is insisting that you get a pricing, send the specs to Aon for a pricing, were they gonna say no?
not just.
They
price,
said,
big time.
yeah, that's kind of what they said at their meeting, that they
Well-
couldn't do it. But again, I agree with the gentleman that was just speaking. Every mechanical engineer that designs an HVAC unit designs around a particular manufacturer. Whether they may be partial to Trane, and they're gonna specify a Trane unit. Okay, and that's what's on the drawings. All the bells and whistles that they want are all on the drawing. When the contractor gets those drawings, they're gonna put that set of drawings out to mechanical contractors, and they're gonna reach out to different manufacturers and say, listen, this is what we need, and they're gonna reach out to a Trane, a Daikin, an Aon, they're gonna reach out to all of them. Now, the drawings say Trane, you end up with the Aon unit on the roof in the end, because it's an all equal.
Yep,
They always have to specify a basis of design in order to be able to give competitive bids and give other manufacturers an opportunity to price it. It's a basis of design, and we have that with the Daikin unit, in my opinion, with the exception of the supplemental cooling.
Right. So
But
I know,
I agree with the gentleman was saying, unoccupied and occupied. I think that's what ESC was saying during the meeting.
yes,
It's a
well,
switch,
but actually Target keeps saying that it's either on or it's off.
or it's off, correct. The gentleman that was just speaking, I can't see who it is, I'm not sure who it is, it was 100% correct.
Yeah, that's Josh, I know you can't see him because he's
Hiding.
hiding, he's not hiding, he's a member of the public who's gonna hopefully join us soon, but,
so just a quick question back to Josh. Hey, Josh, on that, to give us the aux heat that we need, how do we get that included so that, I think we're gonna have to draw the line with Action to tell them this is what we need. I recognize you want to send it to the couple manufacturers, which is great, and I think, I agree, same thing. They'll just plug it in, they'll just plug it right into their computers and you got a different unit. So, how do we get that spec, or how do we get them to, I think we got to somewhat play hardball and say, this is what it has to be. Either unit that, we need this.
I think it goes back to the control contractor, not to overspeak with Josh. I think it goes back to the control contractor. I mean, excuse me, the control engineer, not the contractor or vendor.
So, John,
The
hey,
mechanical
Josh,
engineer needs to reach out to the control guy, say, listen, this is how the unit needs to operate. Tell me how it has to happen so I can get it documented. What do we need to make it happen?
yeah, okay.
is that a reasonable request, Josh? Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Roy. I think it does go back to the actual unit itself, not so much the controls.
Okay,
Unit has to have the capability to, what John was
Yeah,
saying,
okay.
it's a turn down ratio. It has to be able to turn down to a certain rate. And if that, I don't know if this unit's 100% makeup air, or are they mixing air? I know early on, they talked about, early on, they were talking about using some air, high dense filters,
Right.
and being able to recycle it as well as bringing in outside air. So if you are recycling some air, then yeah, that unit should have a pretty good turn down. And unoccupied, you're gonna run it at the lowest possible setting, most likely, And just-
Right, because it could be a 55-degree day and they're in there shooting.
Yeah,
It's got to be able to turn down. It could be a 60-degree day.
right.
Right. But I do think we have to be clear with action right now. You know, while we're asking for a competitive bid, we also have to be very clear with them as far as what we expect the product to look like when it's installed.
Absolutely, and I think that direction needs to come from the town. I mean, it can come from me, but we need to come up with the plan. But it ultimately needs to come from the town, or saying the town is requesting or town is requiring this unit to function in this capacity.
I think, you know, I totally agree. I don't know, Vincent, you could write something like that up and whether we should push it through as a motion or whatever it might be. So there's something that comes from this committee to give it back to action to say, this is what we expect.
I just need to know the parameters and for what we're looking for. There was a lot of information going around about humidity.
So we're looking to have them take those plans that they've already designed, that you sent around to all of us and that we looked at during the meeting last week, and put them forward to Aon and say, what can you do with this?
Spec a unit.
Yeah, to say to Aon, spec a unit using this information. Don't spend a whole lot of time redesigning anything. It's the design is already there. The design.
But see, that's what I'm not too sure. I don't quite understand it that way. But Nancy, it just seems to me that they're not clear that we're gonna want that turned down.
Okay, so the drawing had a Daikin model number. And just to be granular, you take that model number and you just, at a high level, send it to Daikin. That model number of the Daikin unit, that'll tell you what it can unload, what it has for hot gas bypass, what voltage it is, what CFM it is. You could be at 75% with just a cut sheet on what Daikin. I'm gonna try to get it on my phone right now. Vinny, do you have the model number off of the action target drawings that I may not be able to Google it off of my phone? because-
I can pull up those drawings very quickly.
Yeah, I can get
And
it too, I
then-
think.
Go on the Daikin website, and that's gonna give you 75% of it, you know? Frequency drives, okay. Daikin may use a GE drive or Square D, and Aon might use ABB. But it still does the same function.
It's the same function, absolutely.
75% of it from the Daikin cut sheet, you could basically bring that to another manufacturer and say, can you achieve this?
I got it right here.
You have it already? I'm still getting on my network.
I don't know if you can, let's get rid of this.
I agree. I mean, John, I agree 100%, and
It's
said that at the meeting, but Action Target is pushing back. And I don't know why they're pushing back. You know,
Keep going.
Baffle hanging points. Rear jet footprint layout.
Oh, no,
range
that's the whole
section.
range.
Oh, that's not.
He
the-
sent us MEPs.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That's not that one, all right.
Let me see if I can pull it on that phone.
here's. Okay, this one six.
That's a Word document.
You want me to share my screen?
Good, that'd be great. Cause I had the range drawings, not the HVAC.
I think I can share my screen. Where is, oh, here it is. Yep.
Oh,
I already did.
oh, you did, okay.
All right, and, this one right here. There we go. Okay, can you all see my snorkeling picture?
Yes.
There we go. All right, let's get this out of here. We don't need to see that again. So going to where is the schedule for this? Right here,
All our pictures up in the corner, go over to the left-hand
Right.
side.
right there you go, John.
Right there. Oops, see the
So
minus
it's a
up there?
Daikin
Drainage on.
DP, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was
Just
looking
send it
down,
down.
didn't have my glasses on.
You have it by the morning.
Yeah, so it does say, yep.
I'll move it that way.
Yeah, so, Benny, if you could move it, or, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Daikin or approved equal. Daikin or approved equal.
There it is. You know what? Completely missed it. Absolute, wow. You have good eyes right there. Approved equal by action target.
Yep.
Okay, so what is the problem? Where do
What's
we
the
have a problem in?
So Vinny, are you able to draft some sort of correspondence to Action Target, kind of summarizing what we just talked about for 45 minutes?
Yes.
To Action Target saying WTF, because we're being recorded and like that, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, it says it right there, and this is what I've been told right along, right here. Which means this can go to Daikin, but it can go to any, so if this went to a mechanical contractor, they would put it out to various, it wouldn't just be Aon, they would probably put it out to 4 or 5 different vendors, manufacturers.
Right.
Say, this is what they have to meet. First of all, they have to meet all these parameters going right across here. Okay, and then they need to meet all of the, right here, high heat turn down. They just need to meet all of these items. They send it back. The thing is, sometimes engineers don't want to deal with trying to figure out if it's an or equal. That's what it kind of sounds like that they don't want to do. They don't want to sit there and qualify it. But 2 supply fans for redundancy. So it has a single fan. I mean, it's all here. It's all here. So here's the notes: 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14. 11, 12, 13. Interesting, I don't see a 14 here. So.
I think you also, and whatever you're gonna do, Vinny, you gotta be clear that, we wanna be able to modulate this for.
Exactly. We want to be able to, now, Josh was mentioning, we don't want to do temperature. We just want to do humidity. Is that what Josh was mentioning?
No, I was saying you typically you want to monitor the discharge air temp.
Right.
Because you're bringing in so much outside air. But the controls contractor will figure it
Right.
out. Really, you want to,
Right.
the spec you put out, you want to put out the best possible unit for the town of Bethel.
Right.
And then let the other manufacturers try to match that.
Yeah. Right. There's the VFD that will control your fan speeds. That again, that's all controlled. We go through the BMS.
It's a start.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely put together some language in an email out to David. See what he comes back with.
And maybe CC some of us on it.
I can do that. I can CC you.
Me,
I can
John,
CC the police department, you and John, Nancy, yeah.
anybody else.
Absolutely, I think Lieutenant Durkin should be on it.
Yes, and Libertini, yes.
And Chief Pugner should be on it.
Chief Wagner, correct, yep.
please.
Yeah, and I'm gonna point out that general note number 1 says it's a Daikin or equal.
So if it says that, then why do they have to redesign it? So I'd put that in here.
Absolutely, what's causing the redesign?
Yep.
Yeah, I understand you have to go back to your control vendor, like you mentioned in the meeting, and talk to them on how you control the unit to keep some sort of climate control within the range. But
I'd also use some language like, as you know, HVAC equipment is a lot of weeks out, whatever language you want to
Yeah.
use, sound more professional, but everybody knows that. So why are they? Anyways,
I think that, the verbiage you want to include is town's preference is Aon or equal.
yeah,
You send it to Aon, you'll have a spec by noon tomorrow for Aon equivalent for that unit. You just wipe out the top line, put in Aon spec.
yep,
You want to go out with the best possible unit. And like I said, we're looking to match equipment that's at the PD already. That's what they've got, and we fought to get that written in also, and get Daikin out actually. You want to get the best possible spec written, and let another manufacturer match it.
yeah,
Don't start at the bottom and expect something better.
well, I think what happened, because Action Target mentioned that Daikin was their go-to manufacturer. And they're just now bringing in Aon, as I believe what they mentioned during the meeting. I don't know if they truly have been speccing them, but I know they mentioned they're just now bringing them in as another manufacturer. So, but then it still shouldn't preclude them from reaching out to them.
okay,
All right.
so if you could do that, that would be, I think we need to do that, and we need to write something that's kind of pushing and giving some pressure to them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so do we need the plans anymore to look at, or are we good with?
No, we're good, I think, unless anybody there wants to take a look at them.
Nope, I got them here too.
Okay, great.
All right, so he's gonna stop screen sharing, you gotta put your, put that back up somehow,
Where is my stop screen sharing at?
and then you can make it really big.
I always lose
Um,
controls when I screen share.
It should be a thing that says,
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for, the thing.
it's up near the top next to Vinnie's
I
screen.
can't hardly see it.
Yeah, I know, so go way up to the very top. No, not, yeah, there. So then do,
Oh, I found it. It's on my third screen.
yeah, there you go. Kind of stop screen sharing, and then you can make
There
that,
it is.
get rid of the participants if you want. All right, so, okay, good. And if we can also have, we need to have Lieutenant Libertini do some phone calls too, we can do that.
Yeah, if we can have that done, being happening in conjunction with an email going out, that'd be great.
Okay,
I'm gonna try to get a phone number tomorrow, make some calls.
okay. Because I
Yeah,
think Libertini's getting directly to Rex.
yeah.
I'm thinking it's time, I'm thinking it's time to head over Rex's head at this point. They gotta have a CEO. I think I'm gonna try to give that a shot tomorrow and see where I get.
Okay,
That's a
great,
very good idea.
thanks. Okay, so, we do have invoices. Can we do those now?
Let's do it right now.
All right,
Chop, chop.
so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve invoice number 900-26709 from STV for the firing range for the month of December in the amount of $2,404. Second, Dave Olson, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. And I'm gonna make the motion, and then we're gonna discuss it. I make a motion that we approve Action Target invoice number 136185-1, dated January 10, 2023, for drawings for the range equipment.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds.
Can we discuss this?
This is
Yeah.
what- We're
So-
discussing it.
They want to get paid for range drawings that are not complete, to our satisfaction.
Right, the range drawings are completed to our satisfaction. We accepted the drawings at our last meeting, as per
Okay.
input from Lieutenant Libertini and other members of the police department saying, yes, this is the stuff.
So that
Does-
money is for that.
Does this include some of the HVAC? It doesn't say specifically.
That's what I was wondering, if we could get a better breakdown of this bill.
Finn, do you know if,
I mean, this just seems like a big number just to have one, just second payment. I'd kind of like to know what this included.
Did they have a payment schedule in their contract?
Yes, we can get a breakdown. My guess is it might also include some of the range equipment, but we haven't received, we haven't received any range equipment.
no, we have not.
So
Alright.
again, that's all part of my question is I want to see if we're paying for stuff that's sitting in someone else's yard or wherever it might be. Oh, this is just drawings. So I don't know. This says drawings.
Okay, it does say drawings. It doesn't say about equipment.
I'd love to get a breakdown of what it is. I think a little more specific would make it a little more comfortable.
Okay, so we can table this?
I mean, I don't want to hold things up, but you know, I kind of would like to know, especially when we're having this discussion now about, you know, about where we are with the design.
I will say that there was an email. Were you part of that email? This was sent, I believe, initially to the police department and then went to finance with whoever in the accounting department of Action Target saying to finance, our town finance department, here's this invoice for payment, please wire us the money immediately. And finance said, we don't wire, we'll mail it to you when it's approved. And then there was some back and forth, and finally they put me on the email and I said, our next meeting is, and they said, okay, then wire us the money the next day. And finance said, we don't wire, back and forth. So just there's that. And I did ask Benny to look at the contract for a payment.
That's what I was kind of wondering too, is how this fell to what the terms of the contract.
Yeah, and I had asked Benny to look at that, but, so are we gonna table this?
Motion to table.
So do we have to vote on mine first?
Yes.
So we have
It's
to,
seconded, so yeah.
yes. So then we have to vote on this. So all in favor? All against?
Aye.
This doesn't pass right now, and Dave made a motion to table this.
Motion to table with a request to Action Target to provide more detail.
I'll
Second,
that.
Soncheck seconds it, all in favor? Opposed, done. So Vinny, I'm gonna get you I think I forwarded you the emails that came from it's probably their accounting department. It's like any larger company where the people doing the work don't know what the accounting department is doing, but I'll forward those emails to you so you can get some more information, okay?
Yeah, and then I'll take a look at the contract, but I'm thinking back, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'm thinking about the fact that their contract is basically just a lump sum for the work.
Yes,
We're gonna pay them X. I don't know if there's any breakdown or stipulation of
don't- yeah.
payment in that contract.
I don't think there's a schedule, because I think it was basically, let's get the price locked in before it goes up anymore, and they needed the signature from the town, and so it was approved, and once it
Correct.
was approved, and the amount was approved, and it was signed.
Yeah, so I don't think the contract's gonna provide any value to that invoice for how they bill.
Okay.
but I can get a backup on the invoice and get more information on it.
Yes,
I'd also like you to take a look at the contract and just see what it says.
yes.
I'll definitely look at it again, but I remember reading it a few months back and I just can't recall any breakdown of pricing. I will verify that before I email, David. So I'm gonna email David. I'm gonna ask him, because I'm sure he's the one that's putting in the invoices for the work.
Right, but you're also gonna need to, we're also gonna need to be in touch with the accounting department.
Yeah, let me see what David provides first. I'd
Okay.
rather reach out to them because they're not gonna be able to answer. I talked to accounting departments and they tell me the same thing. I'm only putting in what I was told to.
Right.
But I'll reach out to David on that.
All right. So that's it on the training range. Everybody's got their things they have to do, and let's do them as soon as we can. Thank you, Lieutenant Durkin. Thank you, Vinny. Everybody else has got to stick around because we're going to do a quick update on the municipal center renovations.
I apologize if I was a little frustrated, but I am getting frustrated with Action Target.
We're all
Yes.
No need to apologize, rightfully so, and be frustrated, because
Yeah,
we as the board are frustrated. I am especially frustrated because I was on the last call with you when they said that they could offer us a second unit. So
right.
we're gonna hold their feet to the fire, as they say.
We will. Okay.
In payments.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I'm signing off. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny.
Talk to you. All right. Bye.
Okay, so municipal center, the GP room lobby renovations are moving right along. We could have gone down there to take a look, but we will next time. Mark Schweitzer from Colliers is on. He can give us a quick update, but they're, they've got our inspections done for rough and they're moving along with drywall and such. So Mark, you wanna?
Yep, Mark Schweitzer with Colliers. Yeah, Nancy touched upon it. They passed the plumbing. Well, the plumbing was in-wall rough was passed, I believe, last week. The HVAC and the electrical in-wall rough and above ceiling rough passed on Monday. They had the drywaller in on yesterday. He got basically the men's toilet done and he was working on the family toilet today. They did have a delivery of drywall, so they are going to finish up the drywall and then start into the ceramic tile and the wall tile, and then just move on from there, going into electrical finishes, toilet partitions, and then kind of back their way out with the VCT in the lobby, and then they've got the storefront or curtain wall front doors that is due to arrive in state to next week. So they will, once those arrive, they'll start to look at scheduling that work and doing the replacement of the bluestone in front of that.
Good.
So that, and you and I talked about this, Mark, that storefront arrives, they could put it in, but it also, I think it sits on top of that exterior, whatever's out there, flagstone, bluestone.
Yep.
If it does, then they're gonna need to take that out first, so they gotta do that when the weather's warmer.
Correct.
Once they,
Depending on how thin that bluestone or flagstone is, you're replacing it with concrete. You don't want awfully thin concrete in cold weather.
Nope.
So, and you don't want to put the doors in and then do concrete up next to it.
right,
BMP's not going to want to do that either. So they'll wait to kind of do it all in one shot. Pick their spot, a warm weather spot, and do it.
so they'll have to coordinate all that, and then we don't know anything about the door that goes into the GP room that's gone already and then has to get replaced.
Well, they have the doors to the toilet rooms also that they have
Yeah,
to install.
Do they
Okay.
have ceiling tiling in up in the hallway, or is that still out?
They have their cuts in.
Okay,
They don't have the full tiles in yet, but they do have cuts in.
Yeah, the grid was all up when we were.
Yeah, last time we
yeah.
saw.
Yeah. And the lights are in and wired, so, and operational.
Moving along, yay. We'd like to hear that. after what you listen to.
This is a lot easier.
So any questions or anything from Mark? He sent out the link to the newest files that he put in the project file, so you can see the photos and then his reports. So if we were to keep that link somewhere, but you're adding stuff to it, will that link continue to work, or do you have to send a new link out each time?
No, it should work.
Okay.
It's the link to the folder. So if I put more stuff in it,
It's there,
it's,
yeah,
it's just the link to it.
great. Okay, well, thank you for sitting through all of that. It was illuminating, correct?
Yes, it was. Well, I
So-
can say it's not my project, so
You're being entertained.
Yes,
correct. I'm not on that side on this one.
all right. Anything else from anybody or anything? We all have our homework to do.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
I think Roy looks like he's too warm.
Yeah,
Right,
it's,
Florida.
Got short sleeve shirts on, nice.
So turn her.
yeah, I know. At least it's not snowing here.